Welcome to another episode. I am your host, Wize, and I'm very excited. My next guest has been a professional with over 2 decades of diverse experience across various fields. So I'll let her come on and talk to you and let y'all know and let you know what she's about. So welcome to the show, Courtney Copeland.
Thank you so much. How are you today?
I'm doing well. I love your mic, man. That's
Thank you.
real good.
Thank you. It's a headset, but the way I angle it, you can't really tell.
Oh no.
When you have big hair, you can do that. So
But no, I like your mic. Sound very nice. It sounds clear and crisp.
awesome.
So,
Thank you.
all right. So let's just jump right into it. So, like I said, your career spans over 20 years, and you it ranges from restaurants to
hmm
mental health to claims management and education. What can you share about all these careers you have, and how do you kind of fit that all into what you've become today?
Okay, absolutely. So I know I don't look like I have 20 years of experience working, but I started out in the restaurant industry when I was 12. Yes, 12. Back then, you didn't have to have ID. So my parents' best friends let me work in their restaurant on the weekends. And I started bussing tables, waiting tables, all that kind of stuff. Put myself through my undergraduate degree, which is creative writing. And then, kind of hard to find a job in creative writing. So I went into the insurance world and I started to handle customer service issues, and then I went into claims. And because of my resiliency factor, I was tasked with handling fatality and disfigurement claims exclusively. So I saw the big, ugly, horrible things that people don't want to see and don't want to experience. And through that, I actually started my own therapy, going to therapy because childhood experiences. And then just we had to see photos and body parts in cars and, all that kind of stuff. So I did that for about 20 years and decided I wanted to change. So I went to graduate school. And when I went to graduate school, I decided to study counseling and mental health. So I obtained my master's degree in human services counseling, and I still do that. I have my own practice and I help folks through big, ugly stuff. I'm also a voice coach where you kind of find where your voice is because some of us, as I'm sure you know, you kind of lose your voice throughout life because circumstances happen to you. Your parents or family tells you, no, don't talk that way. No, that's not appropriate. So I do some of that. And, we need benefits. So I still have my claims manager job for my benefits, but my heart and soul is in my side hustle or my personal business, which is Trauma Treehouse and the Courtney Copeland. And that's where I help people kind of get through the big ugly stuff and find their voice.
Oh man, and I am one who's who's dealt with tragedy and trauma. At the age of 31, my wife passed away in a car accident.
I'm so
So
sorry.
I've gone through that experience, and it's very I could imagine because I had to deal with the claims department and all that. So I could imagine the pictures you had to see
Mhm.
and all the stuff you had to deal with. Um, so I love the fact that you help deal because you're also known as the trauma tamer.
Yes.
Um, so and it's funny because I didn't deal with I well I guess I dealt with it the way I
hmm
knew how at
Right.
that time.
Right.
So and of course I was struggled for a while, but I was able to turn my life around and get back on track. From your experience, because I know it's very it was a difficult time for me.
Yes.
Um, what is this? Is hearing all these stories and watching all these photos and everything you had to experience. Is that kind of like what made you want to help people, want to
Mm.
get people through these traumas and help them move past what they're going, because it is very hard. It is something that's
Yeah.
very difficult.
First off, I do want to say I am so sorry for your loss. I know that was a big thing, and that's part of what drew me to wanting to work with you. And yes, that is a good portion of what I wanted to do when I went back to school, and I focus specifically in trauma. I'm not I can refer you for addictions, I can refer you for couples, I can refer you I deal with primarily adults and teens. So if you have someone who has kids with special needs, you need a referral, I can do that. But listening to people on the other end of the phone, and then also having my own personal trauma history. I've been in therapy since I was 19. I'm almost 50. So, it's a long time, and even counselors have counselors, right? So, dealing with talking to some of the folks that I talked to, and you mentioned you had to kind of deal with the claim, and the insurance company gave us strict rules. Like, this is the value, this is how much money we have, this is the claim. I understand that. But there's still a person on the other end of the phone. There's still someone who lost a family member or a body part or something of significance on the other end of the phone. And so I actually got in trouble sometimes for just letting people talk. And, they're like, you're supposed to get off your calls in 12 minutes. I'm like, who's getting off a call in 12 minutes? Like, these people have gone through something huge. They don't feel comfortable talking to their family because they're also going through it. So just holding that space, learning that, and knowing, like, honestly, if I could figure out a way to get benefits that aren't crazy expensive, um, I would be doing it full time. But benefits are crazy expensive.
I
So,
know, trust me, I know.
so we
Yeah.
got to do what we got to do in life. But yeah, so I think that almost 20 years of doing that plus my own experience, I just it's in my heart to help others and help others through the big ugly stuff because a lot of people shy away from it because they don't know what to say. I'm sure you had an experience where people just kind of loved on you and you were probably held pretty closely for the first month or two and then people kind of step back and back and back. You still have all these feelings, all these big emotions. There's still a void in your life,
Hmm.
but everyone's gotten back to their regularly scheduled program.
And yeah, and it was difficult, and I couldn't, like, maybe during that time I was angry at people,
Yeah.
feeling like that, oh, they abandoned me in my time of need.
Yeah.
But as time went on, and I start sought help, and I started realizing that they couldn't stop living their life because I was going through whatever I was going through. They still had to go live their life, and yes, I'm sure they worried, and they wanted the best for me, but I had to understand that they still went on with their life. Life moves on. Even though I might have not wanted at that moment, but life does move on.
It does. It does. And there's ways that I've learned through my training to help people through that and help people navigate that. And I think that's where, when you put in the work like you've done, like I've done, you learn some of that stuff. And so you're able to help other people through it. And that's truly where my heart is helping others when they're stuck, helping others when they just need someone to talk to.
Mhm.
A lot of counselors are, I mean, you're at Tuesday at 6, Tuesday at 6. I do things a little bit differently. I allow people access to me via Voxer, um, text, things like that. Now, certainly there's boundaries around that, but you don't just need someone to talk to Tuesday at 6, right?
Yeah.
And so I think with what my experience has been, and just like even handling claims, if they had a question, they would leave me a voicemail at whatever time and I would get back to them. I don't think enough people in the helping industry allow that because people need help in between sessions. People need help in between calls. People may just need to, a lot of people are verbal processors. They want to talk it out. Like, and truly, that's one of the major benefits of counseling is verbal processing of what's going on. and you have all these feelings, you just need to get them out, and saying them out loud makes you feel better. Not always, but most of the time. And I think that's where kind of people get stuck. They get stuck in their head, they get stuck in their heart, and being able to provide a place to do all of that is truly what I want to do. That's kind of what I feel is my life mission.
And I feel you on that because that's why when excuse me, when I started the podcast, um, I started and it was more me when I first started. It was just a couple episodes where just me talking and ranting and going and talking about all the negative things that were going on and at the time because I was furloughed from work because of at the beginning of the
Yeah.
pandemic and all this other stuff and and I realized I enjoyed podcasting, but it just wasn't the content that I was enjoying. So when
Mhm.
I started interviewing people and started talking to people and having conversations and people got to share their stories and I started sharing my story and then I would receive a message here and a message there that hey, thanks for this episode. It really like showed me like this is what I want to do. I want to start making an impact. I want to help people out, especially if I can have my guests come on, they share their stories, and who knows who needs to hear that 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 episode or who needs to hear that content at that moment. And when you start getting these messages of people telling you, thank you for that episode, I needed to hear that, or whatever it was, that kind of just drove me to want to improve and get better. So
Yes.
I worked harder to I started taking courses on editing, video, audio. I wanted to invest in quality camera, quality mic, because I felt that people were tuning in and giving me something very precious, which was their time, and I just wanted to make sure that I was giving back
Yes.
quality content and making sure that my sound came through correctly because I felt that what I was doing was helping, was making an impact,
Yes.
and people were like one of the first ways, oh, are you monetized? I don't care about this is not why I do my podcast. I have these conversations because I want to help people. I want people to see that listen, whatever you're going through in life and the struggles, there are people that are going through something similar. This is how they dealt with it.
And I think you've created quite a bit of beauty in doing what you do. I think because I've taken a listen. So I think that when you get out of your own way, like you did, just wanting to, all right, if I can help one other person, if I can speak to one other person, if this gets someone whatever space and time they listen to my recording, whether it's live or, you know, on the commute to work or in the shower, um, the beauty of that is your heart, your willingness to get out of your own way is providing comfort to people who sometimes really do feel like it's just them in the light in their lives. Like that "Ugh, no one understands what I feel like. No one understands what I'm doing. No one understands what I'm going through." And the ability to do that and especially be vulnerable as a male, which thank you for that, because a lot of men are not willing to be as vulnerable that I have witnessed in my life, particularly minority men are not as willing to be vulnerable traditionally as many women. And thank you for sharing that because I think that lets other people know that there's power in sharing your story.
Honestly, it's been the shift in the last couple of years that like you said before, it wasn't okay for men to show that they're vulnerable. They
Mhm.
had to be strong. They had to be men. There was no tears to be shed. None of this. And going through what we went through the pandemic and seeing the high suicide rates and all this
Yes.
other stuff, people started realizing that men go through struggles as well.
Yes.
We're not invulnerable. We're not vulnerable. We're not invulnerable. We suffer. We go through issues, and to be able to come out here and express that and show that it's okay. This is therapeutic for me. This is being able to come on here and talk about these topics, and it just helps me. It helps me, but at the same time, it might help someone else who's struggling with whatever they're struggling, and realizing that, man, I'm not alone. There are other people struggling, and it's okay for me as a man to show my emotions, to show that,
Yeah,
hey, I'm not all right.
absolutely, absolutely, and thank you for doing that.
I did.
It really is amazing to me how many I work with men and women. I've had an opportunity to work with a lot of police officers. In front of other people, not a word.
Yeah.
When we have a session, that's when they can actually be truly themselves.
Mhm.
And then quite honestly, some of us aren't truly ourselves with our partner, our spouse. Like, there's still the need to have that bravado or put up a face or, I'm fine, honey. I'm gonna make sure everything is okay for the family. And there's still with some couples that lack of, you don't want to let your partner down. You don't want to be weak. You don't want to seem like the weak link in your family. And too many people, like you said, are suffering because of that. Suicide rates are through the roof
Yeah.
across all boards, all channels, all demographics, all walks of life. And that I think is the pandemic had a lot to do with it. But I think a lot of it too is people aren't, they're keeping everything in. They're not willing to share, to reach out for help. And there's better than it was. You're right. There's not the stigma like there used to be.
Mhm.
But some people there is still a stigma. They're
Yeah.
afraid they'll be ridiculed or you lose their job and actually some jobs you can lose if you have mental health treatment.
Which isn't fair. It isn't fair because you expect these people to go, like, I don't know how you expect these people to function without seeking the proper help. Eventually, there's just something's gonna go wrong, and so I would think you would want them to seek the help, and want to go out and speak to someone, because if they don't release it that way, who knows which way they might release it.
Exactly. And in our country, we have shootings left and right.
Yeah, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
Um, so you like I said, you've done so many. You're also teaching now. You're
Yes, I'm a professor
Yeah.
at Bryant and Stratton College. So I teach counseling, kind of ironically, because I don't work with families a lot, but one of the courses I teach is families. And then I also work with some substance abuse, like educating on substance abuse, which in my history, my learning has come primarily from trauma. There's a reason people are trying to escape something and they lean on substances to do that. And I just have the distinct pleasure of being able to just to teach others how to help others, and it's amazing. I love it.
and I cheer that on, because
Thank you.
because again, I lost a brother to overdose as well.
So sorry.
No, it was a span of 5 6 years where it was just like one tragedy after another. So after a while, it just I was kind of numb
Yeah.
in a way, maybe even a little bit more to now. I wouldn't say it's just I look at it a lot different now, like, especially with life is just precious. Like
Yes.
this, you never. So when I started, so now when I start doing stuff, it's like, okay, I make sure that it's something that I enjoy doing.
Yeah.
Like this is why I love creating the content that I create. I love all the stuff that I'm doing right now, because just the conversations that I'm having, the people that I'm connecting with, the relationships I'm getting to build, it's like really making a it's like just in these 3 years, honestly, I've shifted in a lot of things, and things are falling into place. Like, um,
Yes.
I didn't expect things to happen the way that, because this wasn't something that I didn't I'm not in media. I wasn't record. I wasn't. This is just something I wanted to do, and I just threw myself into it, and I just found out that I have a purpose. I love doing this. I found my voice. You mentioned about finding your voice.
Mhm.
I found my voice. I found the vehicle that I can use to impact people's lives. And so, going through everything that I went through, I kind of have an idea. I look at life completely different, and I truly, it's I it's crazy because my wife prepared me for life by introducing me into the world of self development and 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 just learning to better myself. When I got with her, she introduced me to reading Tony Robbins, reading Louise Hayes, and all these other and reading all these different books about spirituality, about life. That, of course, after she passed, I kind of lost my way, but the teachings were still in there. Like the
Yes.
lessons that I've learned were still there, and it kind of like helped. Yeah, I was lost for a little bit, but when I got back on the right path and sought the help that I needed, because I went to counseling, that was the first thing I was like, I need to get help. I need to speak to somebody, because it's not easy speaking to your family.
No.
You don't you might feel that they're gonna judge you. They're gonna think that whatever it is. So a lot of people don't know. I went and sought help and went to counseling because I don't know. I don't know if I was embarrassed about it or whatever it was, but people didn't know until I started doing the podcast and talking about it more. And so for me, because you don't want that stigmatism to be that, oh, you're crazy, or there's something wrong with you.
There's something wrong with all of us if you think about it.
at,
I mean, there
at the
just
end of the day,
is.
yes. At the end of the day, yes, there is.
None of us are 100% right.
No.
But thank you for sharing that with me. That is so important. Like doing the work, putting in the self-development, putting in the time on stuff that's going to make meaning in your life. I don't know how many of us just sit there and scroll, right? We just scroll, 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 scroll. What is that going to do for you? What is it doing for you? I'm
No.
guilty. Just saying I'm
Oh,
guilty.
no.
You know.
We all are. Like, we all are. Like, there's times we'll go to, me, my wife, my brother-in-law, and all of us, bunch of us will go out, and everybody's on their phone. We're out for dinner, and everybody's on their phone. Like, what happened to conversation? Like, we're not sitting down and having these conversations. We're busy, like, looking at, oh, what celebrity is sleeping with who, or whatever it is that you. It's a distraction, honestly.
It is, and it can be addictive.
Yes,
Like there's studies that show that social media, whether it's on your phone or if you're older like me and need the computer, it's addictive. Um, Video games is another form of escape. Those can be addictive. So it's not just substances that people are now getting addicted to. It's escape from their brain. It's escape from their life. It's a
mhm.
way to
Escape reality.
yeah,
Yeah.
gel. Like you just kind of tune out. And honestly, there's a game that I play when I fly. I think it's called Blockbuster or something. Um, because it's brainless. Not brainless. You
Mhm.
have to think about it, but you can just kind of
Yeah,
do
it's a
it.
puzzle. Yeah, like,
I had a dream about it. Like, come on now. I went to Vegas recently and came back, and it's a long flight. I'm on the East Coast, and I was just like, "Why am I dreaming about blocks?" So that just goes to show, like, what's coming in is really going in. Like, it's going in your
yeah,
mind. It's affecting you. So you putting in the work with the Tony Robbins and with the Louise Hayes and learning all the beautiful things that you've learned so that you can do this and do it well. Like all of that, we don't realize those little nuggets that we take in every day have a
mhm,
huge impact on us. So people listening to you and relating to you on the way to and from work,
Yeah.
that has an impact on people. So I think sometimes we underestimate the impact that we have on others and the impact that passing things have on us. You think it's not that big of a deal, but you remember it. Someplace in your brain remember it. I don't need to remember Blockbusters or not Blockbuster. That was completely different time. But the
Well,
game.
I was around
Okay.
for Blockbuster Video. Yes, I'm old. I'm older. I'm up there.
Yep.
I,
Gotcha. Gotcha. But like, why would I need to do that? Why did I spend 4 hours, 7 hours on the flight playing that stupid game? I should have been reading a book. I should have been intaking something that would benefit me for, certainly an hour or two, no problem. But I think too often we let our brains go into mush mode, for lack of a better term. We need to be putting good things in there. I think that's part of the reason people do enjoy listening to folks like you because there's actual content, there's actual quality. You're actually making points about improving your life versus, a game or sports highlights. I know there's sports people, that's okay. But, something that's actually meaningful
uh,
because you're right. Your life's short.
oh, when you mentioned video games, I laughed because I used to be a gamer. I used to game all the time. I spend hours and hours and hours gaming. And so when I mean, literally spent hours and hours. So when I started podcasting, my wife now goes, I know you're serious about what you're doing because you have completely abandoned your PlayStation 4. It's just over there collecting dust. You're over here always recording something, doing something. She says, this is something serious. She's like, what can I do to help you make this more? So she helped me create the LLC that started my production company. And she lets me, she has her time, like her time, the days that is her days, I don't record because those are her
Mhm.
days. But she knows my schedule. She's like, all right, you record these days, this day, this day. Okay, that's fine. Do you go ahead. But when it's her day, it's just have to make sure that the time is spent with her.
Yeah.
But she's very supportive. And she's probably hasn't seen not one of my episodes. She
Really?
but but well, because she lives with me, so she's like, I speak to you all
I
the
hear it.
time. I hear you. I don't need to hear you I speak to you every day. I don't need to hear. But but she is my biggest fan. Like she wears my t-shirts. She's always promoting my stuff. So she is my biggest fan, even though she hasn't listened to an episode. That's what she says. She might have listened to a couple. I don't know. She might be lying to me, but for the most part,
S
I don't think she has listened to episodes.
Sneak one in the car.
Well, no, I don't think she has because I've spoken to her. I've
Okay.
spoken about her a few times on the show, and so she hasn't responded. So
What'd you say about me?
yeah, right.
Yeah.
So it's being able to have someone that has my back and is
Yes.
very supportive, and so I'm blessed in that regard.
That's wonderful, and that's something that you know what? When there's a void and we don't feel like we have someone like that, we can kinda listen in with people like you. With okay, Tony Robbins sounds like he's screaming sometimes, so I love I love his content, his voice irritates me, I'm gonna be straight up, but I can turn it down and listen. Um, brilliant man. Um, and any of the other folks who are bringing good things, because sometimes we don't have that physical person to sit with us. We don't have that wife.
Mhm.
So having comfort of a familiar voice, which I think is a gift that you have, and bringing that forward. So you know what? I listened to that episode. I listened to that episode. And some of us with ADD or ADHD, I have ADHD, and I'm sure some of your other listeners do too. And your
I'm sure a
viewers are
lot of
probably
us.
like,
I'm sure a
"What?"
lot of us. I'm sure a lot of us went, especially our generation. I'm sure a lot of us went
Yes.
un
Undiagnosed for a long
yeah,
time.
undiagnosed for yeah
Yeah, I was
until like
diagnosed
later
at
like now.
48. So,
Yeah,
So, yeah, they were like, "Yeah, ma'am, you have it, like, bad." So, we've learned different coping mechanisms.
Mhm.
Some of it could be that's why we play video games, that's why we're on the phone so much, like, your brain just goes in different directions. But having somebody familiar, like you either watching or listening in the car, because please do not watch in the car, please put your phone face down, listen in the car, um, but having a familiar voice provides comfort. And so you've been able to kind of create that for somebody because, like I said, I've listened. And I think having that familiarity with somebody who's down to earth and who has experienced things, but also shares the good things
Yeah.
is very beneficial for everybody.
Well, no, I had a conversation with a friend of mine that I hadn't spoken to him in quite a few years, and I called him. He called me back, and we had a wonderful conversation. And he was like, "Man," he says, "I've been wanting to reach out to you because I caught because I started a morning show, Rise in the AM, and I started it because I wanted to help people start their day off correctly. I wanted to start off in a positive note and everything. So this past Friday, the episode was on gratitude and appreciation. And when I spoke to him today, and he was like, "Man," he says, "I got a notification on Friday, and you came up." He says, "There's usually no that." He said, "There's usually not content at that time in the morning." So to get this notification, he's like, "Let me check it out." And he checked it out, and he was like, "Man, I needed to hear that episode." He says, "I needed to get back to being grateful and gratitude and all that." And hearing that was like, this is someone I love very dearly. He's really good for he's like my brother, and to have him say that and say listening to that episode and what you're doing is amazing and continue to work with what you're doing. It touched me in a way where I was like, thank you. Like I don't even though you know what it is,
Yeah.
people like have Cole, my boy Cole Johnson. They like, "Yo, bro, you're amazing." But sometimes you get that imposter syndrome, and you
Yes.
start that's one that I think that might be one of my next episodes for Wise in the AM is talking about imposter syndrome because everyone goes through it, even
Yes.
myself. Even myself, I start doubting myself, and am I really truly an expert in this or an expert in that? What really makes me determines me to be an expert? And it's all these things that are going in my head
Yes.
regardless of what people keep saying. People say, "Dude, you're great. You're doing some wonderful work. Continue to do it." But you get that doubt, and you're like, "Oh man, am I really that good? Am I? Are they just saying it to make me feel good?"
So what have you done to overcome that?
Keep reading, keep working,
Mhm.
keep listening to audio and affirmations and to help me combat that because
Yeah,
it's just sometimes
absolutely.
it just creeps in there, that little doubt. All it takes is that little doubt to creep in there, but it's how I respond to it, how I right,
Mhm.
okay, I'm not gonna let continuously let so I just continue to grind and continue to just keep working on myself.
That's awesome. And it does. I mean, it happens to all of us. I have so many trauma certifications. I'm a lifelong learner. I love learning new things. My newest thing is I'm learning trauma and nutrition and how nutrition affects your ability to process your trauma. But I'm a lifelong learner. Even with all of my certifications and all the work that I've done and all the kudos that I get, it's like that with everyone. You're still like, "Oh, is that right? Is that good? Did I do the right thing?" And it's amazing to me that one negative comment from a passerby or even in your head can spin you down when you've done so much good. You've done so much good.
Yeah.
So, you have that too where, okay, all right. And mind over matter, it's a little bit harder to do sometimes,
It
then,
is.
it's a glib statement. "Oh, mine never matter. You can do it. Just put it in." I'm like, meditate. When I meditate, I'm like, okay, well, okay, gotta do the laundry, and then I gotta do this, and no, I don't know if you guys are like me,
You
but
don't relax your yeah. It's like it's a time where you're supposed to just let your mind free and you just have all these thoughts just pouring. You're supposed to be there just relaxing and soaking in the moment. And you
yes,
just got every thought just coming into your head. Like, did I fold this time? Did I do this? Do that? So yeah, it's not there's moments where it's difficult. There's not
mhm,
but just the fact that I like you, I continue. I'm just continuously learning. I'm just always. Last year, I got certified as a life coach.
that's
That was
awesome.
something that I put on my goal list for last year that I got accomplished.
Good for
And
you.
it's those little things. Doing one thing that I'm working on now because it's yes, I have goals, but setting up daily goals.
Mhm.
Setting up daily goals that I can like. One of the things now is I make sure my bed is made every morning when I get up and go to work. The bed is made. That's a daily goal. And people want to keep it simple. Like to me, it's like keep it
Yes.
simple
Yes.
and just start forming these positive habits. That's just something that you want to continuously do. So again, I'm working on myself every day.
That's awesome.
So again, we talked about you going into teaching and
Mhm.
you're also a coach.
I am.
You're certified also as a coach.
Yes. So I'm a certified life coach. I'm a ignited life coach, and then I'm also a certified leader, speaker, and coach with the John Maxwell team. So I can help I can help organizations, but I also help people.
Yeah,
So I can do both. Um, and that was a program I really enjoyed just because it's pretty wash, rinse, repeat, and then you put your own flair in it.
yeah,
Um, but people I don't think understand that coaching benefits everybody. Like, I never thought about that. I was like, "Oh, I'm in therapy, I'm good." No, no, no. Therapy helps you like do therapy things, and I do both, so I know the difference. Coaching provides a space where you can actually bounce ideas off of somebody, get feedback, um, and depending on what their niche is, mine's trauma and finding your voice. Yours, are you doing strict life coaching? Or are you doing any podcast coaching?
yes,
Okay. So
yeah,
yours would be, podcasting, finding your voice through podcast, getting
hmm,
yourself out there, being authentic, being genuine.
yeah,
Um, and then the way that we do that is, lots of questions. We're not going to tell you what to do,
hmm,
because I don't know about you, but like when I played softball, which was epically bad, the coach was like, run 15 bases, catch the ball. Like they told me what to do. So I think a lot of people don't realize, at least I didn't as I got older. I thought coaches were just like sports coaches where you do this, you do that, you do this. And life coaching, podcast coaching, voice coaching, it's not like that. We're
hmm.
going to actually have you explore your brain.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
not necessarily me helping someone start their podcast doesn't necessarily mean that they want to do the niche that I'm doing. They don't. They
right.
might not want to go into the entrepreneurship coaching aspect of it. They might want to talk about sports. They
Mhm.
might want to talk about movies. They might want to talk about music. It's my goal is just to help them find what is that niche that they want.
Yes.
That's my goal is to like what do you like talking about? What is it that you feel most comfortable that you feel like you're kind of expert at? What is something that
Yeah.
you just love to talk about? Talk about that. Don't
Yes.
necessarily have to be like everyone else. Oh, I need to have a relationship podcast because that's what everyone's doing. No, find your lane. Find what it is.
Exactly.
Find what it is that you love to talk about. If it's baking, talk about baking. If it's whatever, if you talk whatever it is, that's what you talk about. So
Yes.
when I talk to people about starting a podcast, what is it that you're passionate about? What is it that you love to do? Okay, if that sounds like an interesting program, let's work on that. Let's see what it is. Where can we take that? Where is that lane for you?
Yeah. Because if it's not authentic, it doesn't come out right. And then,
No.
as the coach, "Ugh, I worked with you and this didn't happen." Well, because you're talking about something you don't know anything about because it's trendy.
Yeah.
No, you've got to find you. You are your business, right? You are your podcast. Without you, it wouldn't happen. So you got to bring the real you to the
Yeah.
show.
No, it is. It's because when I first started, I didn't. When I first started podcasting, when I first originally bought my equipment was 2019, right?
Okay.
And the goal was to start a sports podcast with a friend of mine. It was going to be sports entertainment and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And life happened. Him and
Yeah.
his wife got pregnant, so he had no time to do the podcast. And 2020 hits, pandemic hits. I get furloughed. I have the equipment at home, and I just it was funny because I don't have the setup I have now. Like it was $160 podcasting studio that I bought off of Amazon. It was a mic, a mixer, and headphones, and an adapter that plugged into my laptop at the time. It was not I have a complete different setup now. I've really truly invested in the, but it was funny because I was on the phone with my nephew. I was like, you know what? Let's just have an introduction episode, and I pressed record, and I didn't even have the proper hookup for the phone. So I'm holding the phone to the mic, and he's talking into the phone, and we recorded like 7, 8 minutes of whatever. And he was like, "Oh, we can't release it. We keep practicing. We gotta keep doing." It. I was like, "Nah, this is the introduction episode." You know, it wasn't that long, but I was like, "We're gonna put it out there because I want people to see or hear the growth. I
Yes.
wanted them to realize, look, this is where we started at.
Yeah.
We had nothing, and to where I'm at now, it's night and day. So after probably 60 something episodes of my audio podcast, which is at over 200 and some 207 right now,
Awesome.
I did a reintroduction episode. So all I did was keep the first episode
Hmm.
and then added another 35, 45 minutes of content of that.
Okay.
And it was the introduction reintroduction episode. And and it was fun to doing it because I just wanted people to see, like, all right, this is where I started, this is where I'm at now, and this was like 2 years ago when I did this. So now the growth is even more, like, because now I'm doing a live show 3 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays. I'm here recording a live show on video because I didn't start off
Yeah.
with video.
That's amazing. You know what the most important thing you did was?
I went and did
That's right. You got started.
it.
Imperfect action beats no action, hands down, any day.
And it was a struggle. It was it, it, so even going back to the conversation I had with my friend earlier today, he says, man, he says, to tell you the truth, I've recorded a few episodes for work. He says I've probably done a handful. I probably like did 20 something whatever episodes. He says people don't know the work that goes into what you're doing.
Ooh.
He says, I know I haven't done as many episodes as you have. He says, I know the work that you've put into everything. He says all I did was take it and just upload it. He says I didn't edit it and do none of that. He says I know the work that you go through. And it's true. I like people think that you just come here and just record. You know, when I first started, it was none of that. I didn't
Mm-mm.
know anything. I didn't have a clue about any of the stuff that I was doing. And it's just
The mic
yeah,
makes the difference.
it does. It does. It really does.
If it sounds like you're in a cave, no one's going to listen,
No,
right?
no. And I've learned like I've learned the difference. Like I found out what was the perfect mic for me as a podcaster.
Hmm.
It was a dynamic mic. People are like, oh, what's the difference between a dynamic? Well, as with a dynamic mic, if you notice, the closer it is to my mouth, the much more crisp, much more you can really hear my voice. Whereas a condenser mic is picking up the sound. You really have to be in the quiet area
Yes.
because it's picking up every single bit of sound everywhere around the house.
Mhm.
And so I've really started learning my craft. I really started wanting to become better at what I was doing. So I started reading, started YouTube. Like I've seen YouTube videos on everything from what lenses to what editing software, everything. And it's because again, I wanted to make sure. First of all, I love doing it,
That's
so
awesome.
everything that I was doing was fun to me. It wasn't like work. Everything I've done is in work. It's been something that's I'm just passionate and love doing.
And that makes a huge difference too. And, you're right. Just getting started is the most important thing. And if you're an epic spitter, some people get really excited and they start then know that before you buy your microphone, right? So, because that's gonna make a difference in what you buy. Um, when I get excited, I start to talk a little bit faster, so I have to remember, slow it down, slow it down. But some people just they get passionate. Like, I don't know if you've ever sat in the front row at church and a pastor got super excited, it was like a rain shower. Like, you're like, "Bro, come on. Stand back."
You should at least tell me to bring my raincoat.
Yes, excuse me. You're just like, I understand you're passionate, but I need you to take it down a notch, So, that translates too with what you do. And people don't understand that you've got to go in and edit that out, or, you're like, okay.
Oh my! And so when I really started getting into editing and all that, so now when I'm watching TV or I'm watching interviews, and I'm hearing people go, yeah, and um, um, and I'm like, man, I am listening to too much audio because now I'm just critiquing every single interviewer. I'm like, man, you shouldn't have said that right then and there. Like,
Like, "So where's your cap cut? Where's your I use iMovie. Where's your iMovie? Like, fix that." Yeah. It's amazing what you learn, but look how far you've come in 2 years. Well, 2.5 years, right?
well,
2 years and 10
three,
months.
three, nah. Well,
2020 is when
2020,
you
it was
officially got started?
yep, March of 2020.
Okay. Yeah.
So 3 years and a few months.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's awesome. And
yeah.
you're just letting your brilliance shine, my friend.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
But it's just so much fun to me being able to have these conversations. I get to be myself, and then I always just want my guests to be comfortable and be themselves. So that's why it works because
Yes.
we're just here having a natural. I had questions, yeah, that I asked, but it just started flowing. Like the
Mhm.
conversation just started flowing, and it just that's just happens,
Yeah.
and I love that aspect of it. It's just you never know what's going to be said. But for the most part, it's just some great content. Is
Yeah.
just being able to have these conversations and be able to again, like I said, if it's one person that takes anything from whatever we've shared on this show, I'm happy with that.
Absolutely. And you're also kind of coaching unofficially
I
for
am,
those people who have their faces stuck in the phone
yeah.
on how to have a conversation. Because people don't, like you said, you went to dinner with your family, everyone's on their phone. Some people don't know how to talk anymore. So you're
Mm,
providing a second service that you probably didn't even know about.
this is true. This is true. But oh man, Courtney, this has been great, man.
Yes,
This
I
has been
loved
wonderful.
it.
I bet you didn't think it was going to be anything like this. Well,
I
maybe,
go in with an open mind. I'm like, I can
but
handle unless you ask me about calculus or a math problem, I'm ready to talk about anything. So
well, what if you've like you said, you listened to the show, so yeah, you kind of had an idea of where
yeah.
it was going to be. But thank you. This has been wonderful.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much
Like,
for having me.
oh, like time flew by.
I know, it's like, "Wait, what? It's time for dinner? What?"
Yeah, like the time has flown by. I'm like, oh, what? Okay, but no, thank you. Now you get the screen where you get the solo screen. You get to plug away and let people know where they can find all your
Okay.
content, everything.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, it's super easy to find me. You just go to traumatreehouse.com, traumatreehouse, traumatreehouse.com. I've got quite a bit of information there for you. And if you're looking to work on your voice and how to work through that, then you can go to thecourtneycopeland.com. I'm on socials. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, and Facebook, Instagram, yeah, those are the 4 that I have. So, I'm just super excited. Thank you so much for having me. Um, if there's anything that I can do to help you, if you have any questions about trauma, about claims, about anything like that, let me know. I'm happy to just be a listening ear. If you could use some additional support, there's a way for you to set up an appointment with me. I can do one-on-one. I also do group work, and I do coaching. So any of those things, if those would be beneficial for you, please reach out.
I gotta find you on TikTok and
Oh, don't laugh. I love NSYNC, so there's some NSYNC videos
that's fine.
where I turn into Justin Timberlake for a second. Like, which member of the band are you? Everybody's Justin Timberlake for the record. But yeah, I would love that. And I'll have to, I just have you on socials on Facebook, so I'll have to go in and follow you everywhere.
I don't even know how I don't even know how this was set up because I usually use um Podmatch and Matchmaker FM, and you
Okay.
were on none of those. So I'm like, how was this
Ah.
interview set up?
I actually had a referral service that I worked with, and she found you and was like, "Here." And so she sent me your information. I was like, "Yeah, totally." Because I think I booked with you in March. You're a
Yes, you do.
very
Yeah.
in
Well,
demand man.
oh man, it's yeah. I'm booked right now.
You're
I've
popular.
gotten I'm into February now.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I've booked like I've I've opened the 90 days window,
Mhm.
and they're just flying. Like
Yeah.
there's probably a week in January that I'm not doing anything because I'm going down to Orlando for a convention. I'm going
Okay.
down for Podfest. So
Nice.
that but I'm gonna end up doing interviews down there anyway. So that's why I kind of left those days open. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm booked through February now. I'm
Make
like,
sure you taking some time for you too, my friend.
oh, I do. Oh,
Okay.
believe me, I do.
Okay.
I know. I don't when I first started out, I went bananas. I was
Yeah.
recording 7 days a week. Didn't matter what time I was just recording content,
Yeah.
and I kind of burned myself out. So I took a couple of weeks off. Went to Puerto Rico, got recharged. So once I did that, like last year, I really started structuring it better, like setting a set schedule, really
Yeah.
setting the schedule, and really just making it much more easier instead of going all these interviews. And I like, nope, these are my recording days.
Yes.
And the other days are for whatever else I plan on doing. So
Well, wife has her day,
yes, she does.
so we have wife day,
Yes,
and then we
that's the
need
weekend. That's the weekend. That's
yeah,
the
we need
uh,
it relaxing and rejuvenating. Because if you don't pour into yourself, my friend, you
yeah.
pour out a lot every day.
Yeah, I can't. You have to recharge and you have to pour into yourself.
Yes.
You do because you can't just continue to give and not really. So that's why I take time and I'll sit down and I'll listen to an audiobook or I'll listen to something just so I can recharge and get back. And is am I perfect? No, I'm still I'm still a work in
Yes.
progress. And as long as I realize that, I'm good. I'm just
Yeah.
working and growing and trying to make something happen.
You're doing great. You're doing a great job, my friend.
I
One foot in
greatly
front of the
appreciate it.
other
Oh,
every
I
day.
greatly appreciate. I I've to me this I've this just being able to do this is to me, is amazing. Like I've actually gotten to meet. I'm a big wrestling fan,
Okay.
so
Like
I
wrestling or
wrestling,
okay,
wrestling,
wrestling.
wrestling
Okay.
fan. I'm a big wrestling fan, and I got to interview two people. I got to interview a WWE Hall of Famer.
Ooh,
Um, he's Stevie Ray. He's one half of Harlem Heat with his brother Booker T. Had a
okay.
great. I got to interview him, and we had a one. This is like one of my first interviews, and it was a great conversation. And then I got to interview a creative writer that was part of the '90s and early 2000s and all that. So having that conversation, and then I'm a big. I love The Secret. I love the Law
Book.
of
Okay.
Attraction,
Yep.
and so when last year I got to interview Bob Doyle, and
Wow.
yes, yes. So that to me was amazing, like because he uses a PR group that to help find shows that fit it. And when they sent me the message, oh yeah, we'd like to book Bob Doyle on your show. I was like, oh heck yeah. It was like, oh yes, yes, Bob Doyle, yes, yes, here you goes my link. And it was an amazing experience to really sit down and speak to him. And then again, I got to speak to him again on a one-on-one basis because he was offering this program, and I just took the opportunity to speak to him. He's like, "Hey, even if it's you don't sign up, just the opportunity to speak to him again
Oh, wow.
and listen to him." So I've really have been just soaking it in, and it's funny because at first I thought I was being very selfish because I know that the look is puzzling. I know,
I was like,
I know because I was enjoying these conversations so much that I was like, man, oh man, this is should I be enjoying this so much or should I?
yeah.
And then the guest, when I told this to a guest, she was like, "There's nothing selfish about what you're doing, bud.
Mm-mm.
You are that's self love because you wanting to learn and grow and develop, and the fact that you're sharing it with your audience." Mm, there's nothing selfish about any of the stuff you're doing, but hey, who am I to tell you?
I would say that's correct.
Yes, yes. No, no, it made sense. And but again, you're human. You
Yes.
get these moments, and that's why I named it stuck in my mind because sometimes I get trapped in there,
Yeah.
and so yeah. But
Sometimes it's a fun place, sometimes it's a scary place.
yes, yes, it is. But thank you so much. This has been
Thank
wonderful.
you.
Oh yeah, thank you. This has been great. I usually have the show on at 5, but
Okay.
you booked it at 6. I was like, okay, that's cool.
It was way back in the day. You
Yeah,
must
this
have had
is
an opening at 6.
I did, it did, I did, I did, I did. This is what I was. But after you're the last one at 6. I don't have no more at
Okay.
6 or at 5. I've kind of changed the schedule. Like,
Okay.
this is 5. Just book, yeah.
You're like, "It's
So
getting dark outside now. Get off here, lady."
yeah. Now it gets dark early. So
I
yeah,
know. I know, and it's gonna change again in 2 weeks, so
yeah, yeah.
yes. But this has been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, the pleasure's mine. This has been wonderful. I've had a great time.
Yes. So, if you have another 6 p.m. hole, just let me know. I'll jump in.
Definitely, I'll let anytime you got anything you want to promote or whatever, you got any programs coming up, hit me up. We'll get you back on the show, have you come on, promote it, and share it
Thank
because
you.
we're friends now. So,
Yeah, we are.
so whenever I see any of your stuff, I will be sharing it, and
Likewise.
I
Likewise.
appreciate it. Thank you. But don't leave just yet.
Absolutely.
Let me
Okay.
close out the show, and then we'll chat a little bit,
Absolutely.
and but yes, let me close it out.
Awesome.
All right, everyone. Thanks everyone who tuned in. Greatly appreciate it. It's been a wonderful, wonderful show. Had a wonderful time. Big shout out to my real wise fam, Poppy J, Brandy J. Love you guys. Big shout out to the boss lady. Love you and appreciate you, babe. Uh, Shout out to Courtney for coming through and really, oh man, I had been a very very enlightening conversation. I loved it. It was wonderful. And as always, a big shout out to all the essential workers out there. God bless y'all. Be safe. You know how your boy Wise does it. Peace out.